There we go.
I always forget something.
You always forget something.
I always forget something. I wish everybody could see what you guys were all doing when that's all running. I sit near Nick's up there doing this, trying to shoot flies off the wall, thinking side by side, thinking he's something cool.
Hey, you got to get a few extra mounts in every chance you get.
So just for Brock guy, hey Nick, what is this right here?
Believe that's a rheostat tile, Tyler.
There we go. All right. Well, we'll start right there. I like the new bingo square for sure. And before, just to defend myself, since I wasn't here last week and I heard that you guys were really, really mean to me, which I believe, because I mean that's kind of how that works. I was not camping, just for the record. I wasn't shopping for scented candles because I know that's somebody's going to say that. Was not drinking White Claws. We had 4 inches of rain here last week on Monday and Tuesday, and we had severe thunderstorms, and it knocked out my power and my internet for like 24 hours. So, sorry. I know that without me, like life is kind of meaningless. So,
yeah.
But I want to
tell you guys the smart conversation we had without you, though.
I bet, yeah, definitely up the level of conversation by a lot. But thank you guys very much for joining us tonight. We have a really fun guest tonight. This is going to be a fun interview. He may or may not shoot feral cats during this interview if one walks past. We just learned that before we turned the cameras on. But Mr. Pete Fischer from Dogtra Collars has been good enough to join us tonight, and we are going to learn all there is to know about collars, maybe something about dog training, perhaps. I mean, like he's only kind of done that a little bit over his career. So thanks for joining us, Pete. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
This is going to be a good one. So I feel as though, and I'm just going to.
Anybody recognize that Ron's not here yet?
I was going to say.
That's it.
We have a
That's it. Something's missing.
So he can't be our fearless leader since he's not here, but I talked to him for an hour today. He's on his way, or he was on his way to Virginia. I think he opened his first beer at 11 o'clock this morning, and he just texted me a picture of him and a hot bartender like an hour ago. So chances are when he does get here, it's going to be lively. So
fingers crossed he shows up.
Yeah, if he does, he does. So if any of you guys do have any dog collar related questions, please put them in the chat. Not Nick. Doug will put them up on the screen, and we'll make sure that we can get as best of an answer as we possibly can from Pete. And I actually have a question for Pete to start off with. So I talked to Pete here not very long ago, probably a month ago or so, and I ended up losing one of the collars for my TMB beeper, or my TMB dual. And I'm not 100% sure how it happened, but I was out running dogs. I guess it's been more than a month ago. It was probably early May. And my short hair bow came back with no collar on at all. And I hit the beeper button, the locate, trying to find it, nothing. So I think is what happened is he got hung up on something in a slough, I think is what happened. And I don't know how it happened, but he must have wriggled out of the collar or whatever it was. But so to start us off, as far as the question and answer goes, how in the hell do I connect this collar to this remote?
I've been through that.
I'm waiting.
Put it up again, Tyler. I didn't see what unit you had.
I got the TMB dual, the green one.
Okay, well, first we've got to have, in order to code the units, is what we call them. You got to have both in hand. So if for some reason the unit lost its coding, and the dog's out in the field somewhere, you got to get the dog back, and we got to get our hands on the receiver, which is the piece the dog wears. and every one of the units is different how we code them, but you put them into a coding mode by either the two magnetic dots. We hold them together for about 5 seconds, and they go into a coding mode and have a rapid flashing. Or if it's a style with an on-off button on it, we hold it for about 5 seconds. And then you push a sequence of buttons. And again, every unit that we make is different because the button configuration is different.
Sure.
So, but I can sure, at some point, I don't think we want to bore people with trying to code this unit at this point, but I can sure help you with that.
Until they come up with a question for you, Pete, we're going to bore them because I need answers.
That one's actually pretty easy to code, actually.
Is it?
Pete walked me through that one a couple times because I had a coding issue as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, it's, one of the things that people have to realize is there's so much technology in these units nowadays. I mean, shit happens. These things lose their coating. I mean, batteries go dead. I mean, the days of just having a one level stimulation unit with no
that was roughly the
screen
same
on
as a car battery.
Yeah, I mean, things have really changed, Tyler. You know that.
Right.
And I've been around this equipment most of my adult life, and to see the advancement in the training collar world has really been phenomenal. But again, with all the technology advancements goes, just more problematic and more things that can go wrong when you're out in the field.
Sure.
I personally don't like all the technology they put in it, but it helps sell units. And we live in a society nowadays that they're very tech savvy. I'm a bit of a dinosaur. I like the old school stuff, but the bottom line is if your unit loses its coating, which doesn't happen very often, but it can, you got to get it. You got to get your hands on it, and because you can't coat it remotely, if that makes sense.
I gotcha. Well, over here in the comments section, I see Dale B has a question specifically about technology, which we were just talking, like, I still have my old school TMB 2002 models with the toggle switch in the transmitter that I still use every once in a while. But Dale's got a pretty good question here for you. Can you read that?
I can see it. Yeah, I can see it. And the answer is he's looking for technology that would put the Pathfinder unit, which is our GPS e-collar unit that runs through an app on your phone. Is there a way, or will there in the future be able to sync it to a smartwatch? And I can tell you this, that would be nice to have it. We get that question quite a bit. I've not seen that technology for us in the pipeline. I haven't. And I was just over in Korea back in December and saw all the things we're working on. And that's where our product is made, by the way. We're based out of Seoul, Korea. That's the manufacturing plant, not in China. We own our own factories over in Seoul, and we're based out of California. And then we've got one nitwit up here in Minnesota. So
they got to have one guy in bird country. I mean, come on now.
Yep. But back to his question, I have not seen that. I know what you're talking about. We get the request, not quite as much as what you might think, but I haven't seen it in the pipeline. So
just going back over to the comments here, I see Stuart Smith has got a question, and I asked you this exact question in a podcast we did back in March on my way through, and you had the best answer that there is. You see the question, Doug?
Sell me a Dogtra, tell me why Dogtra over other products. I respect Dogtra, but I did not start with that brand. Why switch? So basically, why pick Dogtra over maybe one of the other two big names?
Is that question for me, Doug?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I better recommend Dogtra. That's an obvious answer. Here's the thing. There's a lot of good product out there. I'm not one of those that bashes our competitors. We live in a very small world, and it just doesn't pay to bash competitors' product. We've been around for 30 years, Dogtra has. Our product is not made in China. I will say that. The only thing you're going to find made in China in a Dogtra unit is the battery, and that's where most batteries are made. I see somebody made a comment. It's made in Seoul, South Korea. Yes, it's not made by Rocket Man. Sorry. So I guess I needed to clarify that. I didn't think I did, but I guess I better. But yeah, we're based out of Seoul, and we're also based out of Torrance, California, which I don't know that. I don't know if that's something to be proud of.
I wouldn't be bragging about that either.
Yeah, but I'm in Minnesota, and I'm not so sure I'm proud of that right at the moment with everything that's gone on in the last month. But that's a whole nother show, right? So, back to what the individual was asking about, there's a lot of good products out there. Why Dogtra? We've been around for 30 years. We have a less than 5% of our product comes back in the first year for breakage, which is phenomenal. When you start thinking about where our product goes, what it's used for, drug around out in the swamp, and we have all of our product is manufactured and sold, but all of our repair is done right here in California. So it's I'm not gonna bash the other competitors' product. We have a 30-day return product on all of our products. So If you want to try it, you've got 30 days to try it. If you don't like it, you send it back. You get your money back. You're going to be out a couple bucks in shipping. So that's the best I can tell you.
And when you gave me that answer on the podcast you did back in March, that's what I respect so much about you as a person in general. Not to mention the company. You know, we flat out said it on the podcast. You know, like pick any one of the really good brands, and you're going to get a pretty good product. You know, like that's just kind of the way that it is. And there's not really any like just. You don't need to sell a product that's good, right? I mean, like you have to sell something that's not up to the level that you guys are. So, like just by telling people that I don't really have to sell you on it. You know, like all the top products are really good products. We're not any better, we're not any worse than the really good products. So, I always really appreciate that selling point. So hopefully, there's nobody out there that's a car salesman that's going to use that on me in the future, because that I'll bite on that most of the time.
Got some oceanfront property that I want to sell you.
Know, we live in a small world, Tyler, and especially in the outdoor industry, and you know, in the training collar world, it's just a matter of time before you know, the antis get after us. I mean, that's the world we live in right now, and so strength in numbers. I don't want to alienate any of the individuals from our competitors, DT, Garmin, Radio Systems, Sport Dog. I know those people. I'm on our manufacturers board. I talk to these people every month. We're on a conference call. And I see these people at events. I go out and have a beer with them. They're all good people. And so I sell our product on its merits and tell people if you want to try it, you can't please everybody. You know, you guys know that. And so to say that there's everybody out there that bought a Dogtra collar over the 30 years we've been in business has been completely satisfied. Well, that would be absolutely ludicrous for me to say that or to even insinuate it. But we do a hell of a good job with our product, and I'm very proud to be part of it, plain and simple.
Absolutely. So it seems like the floodgates have opened here a little bit. I had to scroll back up, Doug. There's a lot of questions coming in. So you see the one from Austin, the one right underneath Stuart.
There it is.
There's quite a few of them here. Which one am I looking for, Tyler?
It's up on the screen.
He just put it on the screen right now.
Yep.
Here, this is going to help. There we go.
There you go, Doug.
Now I can see.
Okay.
He's looking for a caller recommendation for a new either GSP or Brittany pup with apartment limit. He's looking for a caller recommendation for a young pointing dog.
First time. That's probably a first time bird dog owner.
Right.
Okay. I mean, plain and simple, our units that have the beeper locator in them, once you've used a training collar that has the beeper in it, you'll never go out in the uplands again without it, period. And I don't care if you got a pointing dog or a retriever. And I've got both. I've got 2 retrievers and I've got 1 German short-hair pointer. My cover around my property here is native prairie grass. Tyler, you were here and it hadn't started growing. That was in the spring. Right. My native prairie grass is so thick. You kick that dog loose in there, go pheasant hunting, and once he's 10 feet from you, you don't know where he's at. Take a look at our 2700 TNB unit. TNB stands for Training and Beeper Unit. And what does that mean? It's got the e-collar functions on it, and it also has a beeper locator on it. And you can set it so that it's in run point modes. Personally, I don't like that. I like to use the locate only, which is a separate button. And so I don't have to listen to that constant beeping when I'm hunting late season pheasants. And you know how, Tyler, you know what it's like hunting late season pheasants out in North Dakota. I mean, you
sure do.
You ease a car door a little too loud, and I mean the field or the slough empties out on you. So I don't want to have a lot of extra noise in the field. So I just use the beeper locate only. And so take a look at our 2700 TNB. It has the e-collar functions on it. It's got the pager function. And then if you want to go to a 2-dog system, in fact, is the unit that I happen to bring mine in. I use the TNB dual, and I think that's what you had in your hand, Tyler, earlier.
Right here.
And that, this is the unit that I use when I pheasant hunt. I've got 2 different dials up here. I can keep my stimulation levels.
What kind of dial?
You got to use a word.
Well, this has actually got 2 rheostats. You know, it's got a rheostat on the
double rheostat
on the left and a
double
rheostat on the right, Tyler. You know that, right? 2, you know, there's nothing better, Tyler, than 2 rheostats, right?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
You know, how many does your unit have?
Well, see, my unit is called the T&B Dual, and the Dual stands for Dual Rheostat, I believe.
Yeah.
So Brock guy's going to regret this by the end of the night.
Got 2 rheostats right here.
And a rheostat.
Hey, we got 6 rheostats right now.
Hey, fellas, let's explain what a rheostat really is. Before
Good
we
idea.
get too carried away here.
Yeah.
And here's the way I describe it. A rheostat is like a volume knob on a radio. There are no pre-programmed clicks. Selector, a unit that has a selector or steps or clicks in between, we refer to as a selector. So click 1, click 2, click 3. All right. So this does not. If I turn this on, and I don't know, Tyler, can you see this?
If you hold it up to the screen, we can.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. And so when I'm turning this thing on top, the rheostat, that unit increases and decreases. So it's like a volume knob on our radio.
Yeah.
And so what's the point? Might be the next question. The point is it gives us a lot of flexibility. It's 0 to 127. And that's one of the unique features that the Dogtra product has, is that it gives you a lot of flexibility. And if you have a selector that might go 1 through 8, which the 3500X has that, sometimes 1 may not be enough and level 2 might be too much. We don't run into that with the rheostat because we have so much flexibility, 0 to 127.
Right.
Make sense?
And I'll just as a kind of a quick anecdote, there's a lot of people out there right now that are probably like 0 to 127, huh? Like, does it really need to get to be that precise? And I'll tell you that with my personal dogs, so using this thing right here, so you get the orange one controls the orange collar, green controls the green. Obviously, my short hair always wears a green collar, always, and my setters rotate between the orange, and my setters need between my little setter CJ, she takes about a 30, and my older setter Rusty takes about a 25. They don't require quite as much stimulation. That short hair, however, he's a little bit more stubborn. He's a little bit more pig-headed. He's a little bit more muscular, and I'm running like that 38 to 40 range on that short hair. And then as far as like, I'm never going to go above that ever. I mean, like that'd be like basically a 3 on a 1 to 9 scale. Unless I'm trash breaking. If I'm trash breaking, I reach down, grab a hunk of rheostat, and I'm just turning that sucker up until I can't turn it, and then I'm gonna give him some juice. But you can literally, each dog is going to take just a little bit different stimulation level, and it's going to depend on how much fur they have around their neck, how sensitive they are, how there's just a million different things out there. Each dog is just a little bit different, and sometimes they'll take a 10, sometimes they'll take a 40, but that way you can dial it into exactly what you need.
That's my case in point.
And if you do hear a dog yelp, that's too much. Yeah, turn that sucker down a decent amount, because you shouldn't be doing that unless you're trash breaking.
Yeah, I've got dogs that run at 45, and then I've got dogs at a 20. They're
right
over on the ground.
Right. This is a pretty good question here from Sean E. You got that one, Pete?
The one about surviving skunk spray.
Yeah.
I mean, here's
how do you get that off? How do you get that off of
I've had it happen, and so what you'd want to do is you'd want to take, like, let's say we're talking about the T&B unit here, which fastens the collar strap, Tyler, down to the receiver box. And by the way, the receiver is the piece that goes on the collar. The piece that goes in your hand is the transmitter.
Yeah.
And just so everybody knows that, because as I troubleshoot units day in and day out for the Dogtra company, people say, well, I've got the unit on my dog and the transmitter. I was like, well, let's just back up. Let's call it the handheld transmitter, and let's call this the collar receiver. So this is our receiver. This receives the information from the transmitter. On this particular unit, if it was to get skunk spray, I would take these contact points off. I've had really good luck with that Skunk Off product. Who's familiar with that?
Mm-hmm.
Seen it.
And I would just soak it in that. But if you don't take this unit apart and get underneath the collar strap, all of the it just permeates. And quite honestly, sometimes if it's really bad and you don't get after it right away, you may have to ditch the collar strap, put a new collar strap on it, clean up your receiver box, and but I've cleaned quite a few of them over the years.
So and I'm actually pretty interested to hear your takeaway on this, Pete. I did a podcast with Steve Snell from Gun Dog Supply Company here a couple years ago, and I share the same sentiment. Like if a dog gets sprayed on, like just toss the strap. The straps are cheap. I mean, they're what, like $12 or $15 or whatever they are. But he recommended actually taking this part and soaking it in isopropyl alcohol. And he said that that'll actually take away that skunk smell, and it doesn't actually hurt the unit. Is that something that you guys at Dogtra would recommend, or is that something like he said he'd soak his overnight, can't smell skunk on it at all? Is that like, are these things really that sealed where alcohol is not going to seep in there and hurt anything?
I wouldn't be concerned about that in the least little bit, Tyler. No. Does it work? I don't know. I've never heard of that. I've never tried it.
Steve hunts a lot.
I wouldn't be concerned at all. Yeah. I mean, those things, my units are in the water. When I'm training my retrievers, they're in the water more than they're on land.
Right.
And so you don't have to worry about that. Does the concoction he's using work? I can't verify that. But I can tell you this, that the units are fully waterproof, and you could soak it in whatever you wanted, provided it's not battery acid or something like that. But they're waterproof.
Sure. That's awesome. Yeah, that's what he recommends. See, I have setters, so I don't have to worry about that. It's those
worry about that.
Those other guys that like I know Sean was the guy who mentioned that. I think he's got poodle pointers, if I remember right. He might need to know that, so that's why I wanted to ask.
Dogs with beards.
Yeah.
Any discussion on combining GPS collars with beepers? So I know this actually comes up a lot.
Yeah.
So having a GPS collar with, because I know a lot of guys will take their GPS collar and then they'll take a 2700 or just a TMB and they'll run it on their GPS collar. So having something, I think, all inclusive in one unit would be a game changer for a lot of guys.
Yeah, and again, to that point, Doug, I have not seen that technology right now that we're going to include the beeper with the Pathfinder unit. So I'm not saying it's not a good idea. I'm sure we've had a fair amount of questions or inquiries about it at the company, but I have not. I haven't seen anything in the near future.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys. I use I use them together. I use my TNB Dual and my Pathfinder at the same time. And I saw earlier in the comments, Shawnee's actually mentioning the North Dakota Fur Board, which I'm staring at right now because his dog is on that board. I'm just telling you. But I use there was a comment earlier about how using the Pathfinder can kind of drain your cell phone battery in certain situations. And that may be a question we want to look at again, because I don't know if it does or not. If you have, if you have the maps downloaded, I know that's one of the things with Google Maps that makes it really nice. But I use them both just as like a fail safe. So that way, if the only time I ever use it is if I'm like over by you guys hunting rough grouse in the woods, or if I'm down in Arizona in the mountains, or occasionally if the wind's blowing really hard here in North Dakota and I'm hunting late season pheasants in a cattail slough. Those are going to be the three situations where I'm going to use both of those collars. And then that way I have kind of that redundancy where I can pull my phone out of my pocket, open up my Pathfinder app, be like, okay, my dog is either 700 yards that way, and that's why I can't hear it, or it's 80 yards that way, and I just can't hear it because either his beeper got packed with snow or whatever. But so I do use that redundant system every once in a while. It works pretty well.
I'm reading a comment here. The guy, it's Brett B, and he makes a comment. ISO works, but scrubbing the crap out of it with Dawn, hydrogen peroxide, baking soda first is key. Quite honestly.
That works. It works for dogs.
Works well. Mm-hmm.
You know what? I agree with him, because when I've had really bad ones where a dog actually grabbed the skunk and had it in his mouth and he released the scent and it got, it looks oily and it was just dripping down his mouth and down his chest. I mean, I literally threw everything but the kitchen sink at this dog. And so to Brett B's point, yeah, I mean, I gave him everything. And it was a golden retriever. It was actually my wife's dog.
Really?
And he ran down into a edge of a swamp one night when I was out for a walk, and he grabbed his skunk and gave it a couple good shakes and just named it enough, and I went down and shot it later on. But this dog was so coated in the skunk piss, it was just unbelievable. But I did what Brett did. This dog got everything known to man thrown at him, and it is harder. And the problem you have is if you got a dog that gets in the water, every time they get wet,
reconstitute.
Right
for sure.
But I did everything. I seriously, I think I did the tomato juice. I had a couple bottles. Skunk Off actually works pretty good.
Yeah.
But I did everything on this dog, and I think I did the hydrogen peroxide, the baking soda, you name it. And then I took his put him in a crate, and I used to have an indoor kennel set up, so this dog got put on cottage duty, so to speak, out in the back because he was pretty nasty. And every time he got wet, he
stunk just a little bit.
The dog had been shaved down and banned to the garage. So this is a question that I missed from Mike a little earlier, but it's talking about his Pathfinder and setting up a geofence at his buddy.
I saw that earlier.
Yeah. Sorry. So is that something that you're able to address or help us out with?
I can. What was the actual question?
I just put it up for you.
Find it, Doug.
Nope, I just put it up for you. Can you see the comments that I put up on the screen?
I think he's on his phone, so I don't know if he can.
Well, I'm both you guys. I'm on my phone, and I've got it up on my computer here. That's where I'm reading the comments. One of them you highlighted earlier.
Yep, it says, Pete, Pathfinder question. I set up a geofence at my buddy's barbecue. Didn't realize that I was zoomed out so far, and I couldn't. And it says still can't figure out how to get rid of that geofence. Are you able to help?
So removing a geofence.
Removing, yep.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, we've got a ton of videos online that you can search, and the guy that really knows more about our Pathfinder unit is a guy by the name of Cody Glancy, who's I've got to know really well. He's got a YouTube channel called the Kentucky Cooner, and if you search Dogtra Pathfinder geofence, you'll find videos, but you can delete the fence off there. You just have to press and hold on it, I believe, to delete it. So I'm sorry I didn't see that one earlier, but take a look at there. We've got a ton of videos up there now in the last 2 years since we came out with Pathfinder, and Cody's done a lot of them. So take a look at that, and that'll walk you through it.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a link to it in the comments. So if you want to go back and check it out, you can do that. There you go.
Over here on the side, Brent Dunham says, download the maps and put your phone in airplane mode. Battery lasts a long time. The beeper would greatly reduce the amount of time I need this on my phone. But yeah, it's when I'm down in Arizona, I download as many maps as I can, because when you get up in the mountains, when I'm chasing Mearns quail, there is zero cell phone reception. So downloading the maps is definitely key. But one of the nice things about your guys' system, Pete, is that you guys use Google Maps compared to a lot of the other mapping software that's out there. So you can really figure out exactly what's going on with that dog.
Yeah, and another thing, Tyler, in order to save battery life, and you may not have a great battery in his phone, and so what you can do is the unit comes default set to update it every 2 seconds on the GPS, so that's pretty damn quick, right?
That's fast,
and so the more frequently that unit is updating information on the GPS location, the more battery life it's gobbling up. So if Dale is saying, need to put my phone on airplane mode, preserve battery, defeats the purpose, in my opinion. Well, they sell these battery packs nowadays, that Morphe style battery pack. I mean, they're pretty inexpensive nowadays.
Yeah.
And you can go that route, but you also can change the updating speed so that your unit isn't updating every 2 seconds, because ours is, when I put it on my German Shorthair, it's like watching the dog and the
in real time
on the GPS.
Right.
Yeah, exactly, Tyler. And so if you don't need that or want it, then you just slow it down some.
Yeah, I think I have a 1 minute refresh on mine, and it does a pretty significant amount to increase the battery life.
Wow, that's a good tip. I've never done that before. This is going to blow a lot of your guys' minds, but I'm not really great at all this technology stuff, just like Pete was talking about earlier. So whatever setting mine came on is the setting it's on. So I've never, and I don't.
Well, right, but you like the rheostat on our training collars, don't you?
I do like a rheostat. Yeah. I do like a. I do.
I knew you would. I knew you'd like the rheostat.
Is there any way to use the Pathfinder with Onyx? So because it used Google Maps, there's really probably no way to integrate it.
Yeah, that is probably the most commonly asked question, Doug, that I see. Right now, it is not, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Okay.
Good answer. Right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right now, we are not. Yep. Back here, somebody said something that we're still getting some information or some questions, you guys, about the whole skunk thing, which of all the different things that I've
a lot of German dogs in this group.
Yeah.
I don't.
We have a lot of novel.
The most time we've spent on skunk spray. God, that skunk spray should have been the keyword, Tyler, huh? Rather than rheostat.
No kidding. Yeah, for sure.
But one person said I had to trash the strap. Quite honestly, the straps are about $10.
Yeah. Soggy Dog Gear.
But here's the other thing that
hook you right up.
There you go, Doug.
Hey, Doug, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Can I take any if I needed a new strap for this unit for the T&B Dual or 2700, 2500? Can I go get any strap and put it on there?
You could not unless you want to poke 2 extra holes in it and add a couple grommets.
You can't.
Come on, Pete. This is an amateur hour.
Have that grommet in there.
So
got it.
Here's the question, Doug. Can you make straps for them with nameplates on them if they get skunked and they want to have their name stamped on their collar?
I mean, you can. I don't know why you'd want one.
Can Soggy Dog?
I can make them.
There we go.
I gotta clarify that because I did what has been said cannot be done, in that I've moved I don't have my collar here, but I moved that unit, my T&B 2702 Dual. I took the receiver off of its Dogtra collar and I put it on just a plain black collar strap. I poked 2 holes in it. I screwed the prongs on, and I used it all last hunting season. But my question is really, what are those grommets doing? What should my collar not be doing? And I will say there's honestly a chance that if that collar won't work, I don't use I very rarely use the stimulation with Hartley on while he's hunting. So maybe I used that collar all year last year, and I never had any collar capability.
Just don't put them in the water. No. You don't have to worry about it. He's a setter. So what are those? So Pete, what are those grommets? What's the purpose of having the grommets in the collar?
Well, on a training collar, you got a positive and a negative. And so what a lot of people don't understand is, if you grab just one of the contacts on the training collar and you test it on yourself and it's static electricity,
it won't work.
Works on a very I run it, and quite honestly, it just depends on so many variables, Doug. If you put it grip it in your hand and push the stimulation button, there's many times I can only feel the stimulation coming out of one of the contacts, and people say, well, there's something wrong with my unit. But those grommets got to be in there because of the positive and the negative. And if you don't, the grommet is this little colored disc that goes down in there. When you put the contact back on and it sits around the collar strap. You don't have that in there. If you just went to Petco or wherever, or Soggy Dog, I guess. Soggy Dog, we got to go. And buy regular strap.
Grommetless collars.
It poked a hole in it. It will not. You don't want to do that.
It's very well possible that my dog wore that collar all year last year, and I never knew that I didn't have stim. The vibrate would still work and the beeper still work, but I may not have had stimulation. And there probably was a few moments where I was thinking I was getting him.
So Hey Nick, my dentist who I've trained his dogs ran into the same thing, and he brought his dogs back out to me for more training after the first hunting season. He said they're out of control. I can't keep them under control. And he left them with me for 2-3 more months, and I trained him. And then I said, well, here's what we're doing. Here's how you use a training collar on him, keep him under control. He was primarily a pheasant hunter, and I said, well, let me see your unit. And I said, where the hell did you come up with that strap? And he said, well, the one dog chewed the other one off it. And I said, well, here's your problem. You went all last hunting season with a training collar that didn't work.
Unreal.
So, yeah. But hey, the bright side is I got 3 more months of training out of my local dentist.
There you go.
So, start selling people grommetless collars.
Hey, Pete.
Well, then I sold him the correct collar strap too, right? So
Pete, Mike up here, he's the one who had he's trying to delete the geofence. He said that that video
yeah, I saw that.
shows how to set up a geofence, but he wants to get rid of one. Is there a place where, is there a customer service number or anything like that? If he can't find the right video, is there somebody he can get a hold of and get that figured out?
Oh gosh, yes. He can call California. It's in the back of his manual, or you dial 888-811-9111 Pacific Standard Time. So you can't get a hold of anybody out there anymore. It's 5:36 out there. But I really, if I turn my phone, I'd have to turn this off and load up mine and see how I do it. I can't think of it right now. I mean, there's so much to know about all this product. I thought he said he looked at the video and evidently it doesn't show how to delete it. It shows how to create it.
It worked for one person, but it sounds like one's just having a problem still. So, I mean, it might even take a factory reset.
Mike Herder says, I got it deleted. Thanks.
Oh, okay. Good. Excellent.
Who's the guy that keeps posting in here? Should I know him? It's BRAQUE guy.
Brock guy? Yeah, he's trouble. We're not, he came and asked us questions before, and he's one of our regulars.
Does he know me?
No.
I don't think so. I mean, maybe. Okay. I don't know.
I don't
know who you know, Pete. You know a lot of people, but.
Well, I think I do, but that's their bad luck, right? I just saw somewhere in there he mentioned my name like we knew each other. That's all. No big deal. All right.
Oh, very well may. I don't know. Nobody knows. it's all
it's a friendly group here, Pete.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that.
I think Brock guy is the one that came up with the bingo game too.
Yeah. Great game. Yeah.
He's a diehard.
Okay.
There's a lot of drunk people midweek because of Brock guy.
There's going to be a lot of people hungover at work tomorrow because of Brock guy. And
I got a question for you, Pete.
A bunch.
So I have what I believe to be the original Dogtra Arc. I bought it about 6 years ago. And I've used it. It was the first e-collar I bought actually for my setter. Used it as kind of turned into like our backyard trainer because I now have the T&B dual and I use all that sort of stuff. But I'm curious about, I have a new puppy coming in 2 weeks, and can I still go get another collar to add onto that unit so I would have a dual unit? And if so, which collar do I need to look at? Like specifically the Arc, or are there other options?
Well, that's in the industry. Any unit that's a single dog to start with, and you can make it into a 2-dog unit, Nick, is called expandable. And the Arc is expandable, by the way. So you could contact Dogtra or me, and I can help you get one. And I assume you probably have the as a single dog unit, you have it coated with a unit that has a black strap on it, coated to the black or gray buttons, correct?
Yep.
And you want, in order to coat it and make it so it's easy, you want to get a Arc receiver with an orange strap on it, and you coat it to the orange button, so that way you've got a 2-dog system. Okay. Very, very simple to do, but you'd want to buy an Arc add-on collar receiver, and you'd want to get it, make sure it was the orange strapped unit, and it's very easy to coat it. You'd put it into that magnetic on-off for about 5 seconds till it starts rapid blinking, and then you'd push the orange buttons. And here's one of the most, anytime you code any one of our units, you've got to have, if it's got a rheostat, you got to have your level on your transmitter. You got to have a transmitter 0 on. You got to have it set at level 0. Yeah. If you don't, it won't code. That's the most common problem that I run into. People try and code it and say I did all the things, and I'll say, where's your stimulation level? And they'll say, well, where I left it on level 30. And I said, no, it's got to be on 0. So you put your stimulation level on 0, and you on the rheostat, and then you would end up putting it in the coding mode, and then push your orange buttons to code it.
Yep.
Simple enough.
Got it. Cool.
Just so you guys are aware of this, I'm getting text messages also from James, the owner of Dogtra. He has just sent me a screenshot, and I can see you on YouTube. So the owner of Dogtra is one of the owners.
Awesome. Very
James
cool.
Is watching out in California. So
you hit the big time. You hit the big time when you make it to age 3.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and and that's one of the things that's pretty neat about this company, is that we've turned into a, I don't want to say a large company, but we're growing, but we're still a small company, you guys. And it's pretty cool to see the owner of the company logging in and sending me text messages, and I can show you them right here. This is from James, and he sent a screenshot over and with a nice comment. So James is watching out in California, and I think
cheers,
he
James.
his brother Alex.
Salud.
So that's kind of fun.
Yep.
Tyler, somebody thinks you're dodging the question about quail. You want to answer that?
It's a tough one.
The
Tay Britton up there. Tyler, if someone had made you choose between Mearns and Huns, what would it be? And that may make me sweat. I will tell you right now, this time of the year, I'm going to tell you Huns, no questions asked, absolutely, hands down. If you ask me in December, when I've been chasing wild roosters and cattails up to my chin, and it's 20 degrees outside and it's driving snow, I'm going to tell you Mearns quail, hands down, no questions asked. But it's going to be Huns. It just is. I love them both very, very much, but Huns are something. It's the first bird I ever shot, and it's going to, hopefully it'll be the last bird I ever hunt.
Really? I never heard that story.
First one I ever shot. Bolt action 410, baby.
Nice.
I think I closed my eyes. I flock shot like I couldn't believe.
That's how I shot my first grouse.
Yep, down she went. So yeah, they're
ready, fire, aim.
I think I just went and pulled the trigger. I'm
guessing yours wasn't a flock shot, Doug.
No, mine was a Hail Mary shot over a lab chow mix that I had trained to flush.
No way.
A lab chow mix.
Single shot 20 gauge made by New England.
Bolt action?
No, it was a break.
Oh, those things are the most dangerous guns ever owned. I shot one for a long time.
I killed my first grouse was a break action 20 gauge single shot.
Mine too. Yep.
It kicked more than it should for a 20 gauge.
Right.
But it was a Hail Mary. And it was using the AA skeet shot.
Wow, even remembers the shot. Winchester.
Yeah, I still got the shell in a box somewhere with my first hunting license.
Love it.
So Pete, I'm guessing you can't answer Troy's question over here, but what kind of new technologies is Dogtra coming out with to incorporate into future products? Is there anything there that you can tell us, or is everything still kind of a little bit too early still?
We are working on a number of things, and unfortunately, I can't. It's just the way it works. But that's one of the neat things also about Dogtra is, we're getting big, but we're also fairly small.
Sure.
That means that we can turn, we can pivot, we can make new product, we can change things fairly quick. And we do have some things in the pipeline, but right now I can't say.
Sure, no, that's fair. And I'll just say that it seems like Pheasant Fest was about 2 years ago, but Pheasant Fest is coming up here in Sioux Falls. There's going to be some. You can get some answers there, probably.
Hopefully.
Oh, yes, yep. We'll be that much further along, and and developing new product just takes longer than what people. Yeah. People don't realize it, and
sure.
It's just the best I can say is it's not like baking making chocolate chip cookies one day and the next day we're making oatmeal raisin. It's pretty extensive when you see the design and then also all of the patent, the legal stuff that's got to go on, you guys, to make sure you don't infringe on other people's ideas and products. And I mean, it really gets to be quite extensive and quite costly.
Pete, here's a question this is a good question. We had the question earlier from the guy who's looking to get his first pointing dog, but this is the other way for a waterfowl dog. What is the best Dogtra collar for waterfowl hunting?
Our 1900S unit is our most popular large breed. Yeah, it outsells all of our products combined. It's called the 1900S. It's got a small transmitter. It's a high output unit. It's the big brother to the ARC system that Nick was talking about, and it's fully waterproof. It's got phenomenal battery life. It's quite honestly the unit that I use most of the time. I've got a master hunter by the name of Trey. I did all of his training with the 1900S. It's got plenty of range for what I actually ran him a bunch of field trials when he was younger. And so there you've got extensive range where you got to be able to reinforce commands at in the 1900. That's my favorite unit. Right now I'm using the 3500X, and because it's in a 2-dog system and it has the 2 rheostats on it, Tyler. And that's I really well, actually it's got selectors.
It doesn't have rheostats, because that's going to be my question: is how do I get a 3500X with a
selector? It's got clicks. 3500 has clicks. Sorry,
yeah.
But the that's the unit I've been using quite a bit. It's a bigger version of the 1900S. Got a little more range, but it's got the 2 dials up on top of it. But 1900S would be the direction I would go.
And the price point on the 1900S is about as good as it gets. It's a really good product. You guys were good enough to send me one up here. I've been using it around the yard with all my dogs, and it's a really nice unit. A lot of bang for your buck in that particular unit.
Yeah, I see a person here ask about our pigeon launchers, and it depends on the size of the pigeon. I mean, when I was training, I used our QL launcher, which stands for quail launcher, and I had good flight condition Barden pigeons that I would use in it, and the QL style launcher was plenty big, but you got to have, in my opinion, you've got to have the electronics on it. You can operate it with a string, but you've got to have the electronics on it. So, yes, that's a great tool for training any upland dog.
So when you take the collar like the 1900S that has the rheostat, and then the 3500X that has the selector, what kind of things go into making the decision to use like a selector versus rheostat? So like you got the TMB dual, that's a rheostat, which is a very similar, like the body of the transmitter and whatnot are the same. So like that's the one thing that if I were to, I guess holding me back from wanting to switch to the 3500 is it didn't have the rheostat, where I could go to the Edge RT and get that. And but so you got like the 1900 and the Edge RT, both ends of the spectrum, but the one in the middle has got the selector. Is it a size of the components? Because
I think the Doug's trying to kill Brockeye with that question. I'm just going to put that out there, because that was a lot of rheostat right there.
To answer your question, really, it's no different, Doug, than any manufacturer of snowmobiles, dirt bikes, chainsaws, cars. You try and build product that fits many different individuals' needs, might be the best way I would put it. And so some people like the rheostat, some people like the selector. A lot of it just it's personal preference is what I would say. Some people want longer range. Some people don't need a full 1 mile range. So you try and make product that when somebody starts, and ours is a complicated line. I mean, crying out loud, we got about 70 different SKUs is what we call them. And hell, even for myself who deals with this every day, it's hard to keep track of it all. But the bottom line is you want to try and produce product that covers the pet dog trainer. You want to cover the waterfowl, because waterfowl hunters' needs are different than an upland hunter.
Sure.
Most true waterfowl guys, they don't need a beeper unit on it. They don't care about that. They want a unit where they can steady the dog in a blind and reinforce commands when they're casting them out, going for a down bird. So we try and make a variety of units to suit many different applications and also for what everybody's different needs or desires would be. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
if it doesn't, that's too bad. It's my best.
It doesn't matter unless you've got enough pull there to get a 3500 made with a rheostat for me. I really like that rheostat.
We're trying to kill Brockeye.
3500 had the rheostat.
Yeah. Pathfinder Mini, is it the right size for a standard Brittany? Asking for a friend, because nobody would want to admit to
owning a Brittany. Yeah.
Oh, is that what you mean?
Oh my.
Mark Coleman's on here. He's going to be pissed.
Mike, I mean, just as a little anecdotal evidence, just coming from me, I use my Pathfinder Mini on all 3 of my dogs. My biggest setter is like 65 pounds, but I don't use it for stimulation. I use it strictly for the GPS function. So, I mean, that would be my answer as a guy who's used the product, but Pete will be able to give you a lot better definition of what it's actually for.
Yeah, it depends on that size dog. If it's muscled out well, back when I played high school football, a guy that put his pads on and really came out, he could be a smaller guy, but if he was well muscled up, our coaches would always say he carries his pads well. You ever hear that?
Right.
And
right.
so if you take a small dog like a 40-pound Brittany that's in good shape and well muscled out, you could put the standard Pathfinder on it, and it's not going to make any difference. Now, if you take the standard Pathfinder and put it on a teacup poodle that's 5 pounds, it's going to be like a boat anchor. So, but a 40-pound Brittany would carry our Pathfinder Mini, no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, I think something that's important to recognize too when you're using, when you're looking at minis versus the full size, is that the GPS little module is designed to be at the top, being up at the bottom, at the top. So if you've got a dog with a bigger neck, you're moving that GPS from its prime location where it's going to get the best signal, and you're pushing it down to the side of the dog's neck, or sometimes under it, depending on how far you twist your collar. Because most guys don't wear their dog's collar right here, right? So it's off to the side, which is already putting your GPS over here. So if you've got a collar that's a little bit too big or too small, you're moving the position of that GPS module out of the place where it's going to get its best service. So, if you think about, a Brittany, a dog that's got, a 13-inch neck or less, the Mini is probably the best fit for it.
I don't know who TD is, but that's a good comment right there. I dated a girl named Brittany, and I don't admit that either.
Oh, that's brutal.
I hope Brittany's not watching.
Hey, team, I got to give a shout out to, you see, Dogtra is actually commenting on the side here. And just so everybody knows, that's Lorraine. Lorraine is our assistant marketing person out in California. We all know her. And she's a great gal. She's been a great addition to the team, guys. And so that's not the owner. James was messaging me on my phone, and Lorraine was over on the side there making comments and kind of being a cheerleader. And now she's just sent me a couple texts, but she's been a wonderful addition to our team. I can't tell you guys how much I enjoy working with her, and we get a lot of shit done, her and I. And in the past, it was just me. And so it's really been a lot of fun working with her for the last how many months. And she's kind of type A like I am. And so that's really been fun to work with her. So I just got to give a quick shout out to Lorraine.
For sure. And I've had the pleasure of working with Lorraine a little bit as well. And any of you guys that are posting any of your pictures of your dogs wearing Dogtra products and hitting at Dogtra, Lorraine's their social media person as well. So
nice.
Like she's out there, and she's doing a lot of work for you guys, and she's doing a great job.
And to that point, Tyler, here's what's really interesting and how social media has changed how all these businesses, and particularly Dogtra. I have access to the Dogtra Facebook page, and a lot of times early in the morning before Dogtra's even opened up, all the PMs that come in, I'm answering all those because I train our customer service people, and quite honestly, there's not many questions that I don't have the ability to answer, even out here in Minnesota. But we've got a head of marketing, that's Steve out in California. We've got Lorraine, who we just talked about. We actually have my son Brett, who's a true marketing person and works in the Twin Cities for a marketing firm. And we hired him when he was in college, and he's stuck with us, and he oversees things, and he understands way more about social media and advertising. Brett works for a company that does paid search. So when you search something and it sticks on your phone, you can thank my son Brett for that. And we have myself. So we actually have quite a team that is able to answer questions and stay on top of it. And with what has happened in the last couple months, and our customer service lines have just been inundated with questions and phone calls and emails. Our team of that I just rattled off, we've been super busy, and it actually becomes another arm of your customer service. So people can look at our Dogtra Facebook page, and we can put questions in there, and we are really good about answering them faster than what our customer service people can answer them, because they're just inundated right now because so many people are working from home. And so that I just want to do a quick shout out to Lorraine, but also mention a little bit about who we all have working behind the scenes for Dogtra and social media.
Hey,
for sure.
Pete,
Go ahead.
All right, thanks, man. Doug mentioned something that I want to grab it because we have Pete here, and we're like almost gonna flip the switch into hour 2, which doesn't really mean anything. But Doug mentioned the placement of the e-collar on the dog's neck, and I know this is a question that came up when I interviewed Pete on the Project Upland podcast. We talked about it, and I think it's something worth covering. Pete, could you just go, top level, like the proper way to place an e-collar on a dog's neck, since we got you here?
Good question.
Sure. Great question. And that's where we start when we start using the unit. It's got to be on the dog. And so here's typically where that unit would sit. When most trainers who use an e-collar put it on a dog, it's going to sit here or here. We typically don't go over the windpipe because it's egg-shaped, okay? So we're going to put it up here, and how tight should it be? It should be tight enough so that when I put it on and the dog runs around for a little bit, it's not hanging down here. It should be back in this position here. So why do I put it there? I put it in those different locations because dogs can develop skin irritation. We call them pressure necrosis sores underneath the contact points from wearing it too long, too tight, or even an abrasion of it up and down from hunting for about 4 or 5 hours out in the field. So if I get this side starts showing some irritation, I can go over to this side. But here's the normal places we're going to put it. And the other thing is I can rotate it during a hunt. Let's say I have it out and I'm hunting in the morning. Now I've got a couple dogs and I keep a fairly close eye on it. But anytime you strap something around your dog's neck, it can develop skin irritation. It's just a common fact of life. You just put it around the dog's neck, you collapse the arteries underneath it is what happens, and you stop the blood flow. And pretty soon when the blood flow stops, you get a couple sores, which typically look like a burn, and these units don't have enough electrical charge to burn tissue, but even veterinarians will look at it and say, that unit burnt my dog. I've been around these all my adult life, and I've never seen one burn a dog. And when we get people that call in and say, oh, your unit malfunctioned, it melted the casing, it burnt my dog, and I'll say to them, does the unit still work? And they'll say, well, yeah, it still works. And I said, well, if it melted the casing, wouldn't you think it would have destroyed the insides? What you have is a pressure necrosis sore. And they'll say, well, I took it to my vet. And I say, well, does your vet understand electrical current? Because basically the way these work, if you've ever been to a chiropractor or a physical therapist, this is basically a TENS machine. It's a muscle stimulator. It works on a static electricity. Yeah. So it's not like taking a fork and sticking it in an outlet. So by putting that unit in a couple different places, Nick, when I'm out on a long hunt, it gives me the option to move over to a new side if I do start seeing some irritation on one side or the other. Makes sense?
Well, yeah. So, what receiver is that in your hand there? Is that the ARC or is that something else?
This is actually the 3500X, and I have some different straps on it. I bought some of these bungee straps, which are kind of cool. Yeah, and they work nice when I'm just out walking and exercising my dogs, but they do have a tendency to loosen up if you're really out, if you were to use them hunting. But I slip them on my dogs when I take my dog. I live out in the country, and I'm on a private road, but my neighbor goes up and down it quite a bit, and the UPS guy comes. I use those bungee straps just because I can put them on kind of quick. But that's the 35, which is basically, Nick, the same receiver as the 1900S. Okay. But it's for this. Goes with this unit right here.
Gotcha.
So, real quick, Pete, one of the questions that I get asked a lot is, everybody knows that I love beeper collars. I've been using beeper collars my entire hunting career, and everybody asks me, will the beeper, like the actual sound from a beeper, affect a dog's hearing? And so, I never even thought about what you were talking about right there until you said it. But what I always do is I always put the beeper towards the back, so it's not actually in the dog's ears at all. Is that something? Am I doing that right, or am I actually is that something that's not actually going to affect the dog?
Well, if you put it on in that location, and if I grab the unit that has the beeper on it,
sure,
Tyler, and we put it on in this location right where I talked about, what happens with this particular unit, the way it's designed,
it's still not pointing at the ear.
Comes out, bounces off the ground, and it bounces at the ground and then comes up in the air.
Sure.
Some guys, we've had this style unit that has the beeper molded right into the receiver box, and we have some people don't like it, but Doug, you and I work Pheasant Fest together, and my gosh, if I had $1 for everybody that walked by and said, I've got the 2500 TNB is what the predecessor, or the 2700 TNB, and we were just coming out with the TNB Dual. I mean, I shouldn't even say this, but we, in that market, we really own that market in the beeper, and a lot of people love it. And many of the other units that you would see out there of the competitors would have this beeper up on the top with a separate battery pack that's up here. And then the unit starts to flip-flop on it. Ours is all in one. The beepers run off the same battery that runs your training collar.
I personally love the combined unit. I've used a couple different beepers. I love the Dogtra one the best. It's all one unit, and especially because I kind of have a little Frankenstein unit with my GPS and everything, and I like the combined beeper and stim in one box.
For sure. Well, guys, let's take like a couple minute break here real quick. We're going into hour 2. I got to mix a new cocktail. I got to go outside and make sure I'm not going to get a tornado because I just got a severe thunderstorm warning on my phone. And let's take a couple minutes and we'll come right back.
All right. Sounds good. Well, if we see Tyler's barn there just lift up off the ground and disappear, we guess we know what happened. I just spilled tequila, guys. I'm trying to collect it.
Nick, where are you at?
I'm in Duluth. Yeah.
Okay.
Not too far from you.
I moved locations here, Doug. I don't know if you noticed it. I was in my office, and that late day sun was killing me.
Getting hot.
I got in the shade there for a bit, and quite honestly, I don't know if you noticed it. I was in direct sunlight, and I looked like I was in direct sunlight.
I think a lot of people have been dealing with a lot of heat lately, but Pete, this has been a pretty hot little stretch for Minnesota.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. I like the hot weather. So,
well, you spend some time at the lake, don't
Doug,
you?
are you there?
Yeah, he's on mute.
There we go. I'm sitting here talking away.
Yeah, I moved spots, Doug. That late day sun was killing me. Did you hear me?
Yep, I did.
Yeah.
I was. I'm sitting here talking back, and I was like, "There we go."
All right, and I'm closer to the tapper now too. So
that's a good.
Yeah, that late day sun gets in my office. I didn't realize that, but it was. Nick, it's been pretty warm up your way, right?
Yeah, it has. I mean, we get some nice weather in the summer, but this has been pretty hot, and Minnesota's, I think, gets quite a bit of humidity. So
Our lake was Big Birch, which is a pretty good sized lake, 2,200 acres. It was the water was 82 degrees out there on Sunday when I was out there.
Wow. Yeah.
Holy crap. That's too hot even to swim dogs.
It's still 81 degrees out here. It's ridiculous.
Great beer drinking weather though.
That's it.
Yeah. I was at the lake drinking beers all weekend. Our water wasn't quite that warm. It was about perfect, really.
All water is good for drinking, or all weather.
That's true.
Hey, Doug.
Yeah.
I'm away from. I moved into my entertainment room, so I'm not in front of my computer anymore. So I no longer can see the comments. Just so you know.
Yep, absolutely. I'll post them up.
Hey Tyler, do you want to pair your collar with your T&B unit?
No, I'll just call. But I mean, like if there's somebody that's interested, we can do that. Otherwise, I'll just call Pete. I got his number.
I was gonna test.
He answers my calls.
Hey Pete, should we share your personal cell phone with everybody?
No, let's not do that.
That's not even funny.
It was a ball.
I'll probably go down and get a different number tomorrow.
We'll be changing it tomorrow, right?
TD said it was a balmy 65 in Maine today. I'll take that right now.
Man?
I don't know.
Verizon man?
I don't know anybody. I know nothing about Verizon. 65 degrees in Maine. TD, go away.
I'll take that right now. I'm ready for 65 degree weather.
Yep.
It'll get there, guys. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Wait, my dad used to say this: "Don't wish your life away. Enjoy it while it's nice."
I'm ready for fall.
Enjoy it while it's nice. Hey guys, you know,
once
you know this. My brother passed away this winter. A guy that I worked a lot of events passed away with a week after my brother, Todd Ritter. That guy that I told the story about, my dentist in the training, the strap. Remember that deal?
Mm-hmm.
He just got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, stage 4. My wife's brother has got a very uncurable cancer of his thyroid, and he's got a 5% chance of living a year. It's like it's just running rampant, you guys. It's just
that's terrible.
But it really makes you appreciate. Yeah, it makes you appreciate it each day.
And this is hour 2, so let's quickly bring this back. A little social here.
Yep.
Yeah, a little hour.
Go 2 hours.
Yeah, man.
Cheers.
Okay.
A little hour 2. Well, this is the hour that we just drink and there's no rules now. You can do whatever you want. Do whatever you want, act however you want.
Somebody generally tries to find a way to work the F-bomb into a conversation an hour or two. It's generally me. We will answer any questions that anybody basically has, as long as they're like somewhat within reason. There are certain questions I ain't gonna answer, but there are I was gonna ask you guys actually this because Nick, you're out there quite a bit on social media, Dogtra. I've been getting inundated, and I talked to Travis Frank from the Flush today, who actually. I think we can get him on this show. I think
we should get him on.
He'd be really good on here. He'd be super fun. But have you been getting inundated with people asking questions about where to go hunting this fall? I think there's going to be a lot of people out in the field this year.
The chatter's been picking up. I don't recall a ton of people asking about like where to go, but I can tell just based on the messages that I've been getting lately, people are getting excited, as am I, and maybe I'm just finding myself in those conversations. But yeah, I think once you get after the 4th of July, and I've got a puppy coming home next Friday, so at that point it's kind of like it's all downhill until hunting season. In a good way, the momentum is going to be carrying us right in. So
is it going to be 8 weeks old?
It'll be 8 weeks. Yep. You're
going to be in for it, man.
Yep.
What are you going to do this fall? Like, it's not going to quite be big enough to hunt, but
no, but that's what Hartley's for. You know, Hartley will he'll get some needed off time when I'm fooling around with the pup and getting some puppy walked out. But it'll be good to add that second dog for sure.
Sure. Holy crap! We got a question for Pete.
And it says, "Hi Pete, I appreciate the form factor of the ARC product line, but what drives the size and battery? If most amateurs only train for an hour or two between charges, why not make it a smaller e-collar? Why not make a smaller e-collar?" And I think you guys do have one smaller than the ARC, don't you?
Yeah, if he looked at the 280 and the 200 models, they've got a more of the cube style receiver on it, and they are smaller. The ARC doesn't train your dog any different than any other training collar. People look at it and say, well, I like the way it looks. I like, and it fits on my dog's neck better. Just for the hell of it, just grab it sometime if you got an ARC and put the contact points up against any other training collar. We have a standard width distance in between the two contacts. It's an optical illusion that the ARC looks like it's different. So, and really, the ARC doesn't train your dog any different. The biggest advantage to the ARC is it's less conspicuous when you've got pet owners out in suburbia, and you might find your next door neighbor Karen, so to speak, that's anti-e-collar, and so it's harder to see. Okay, would you agree with that, Nick? I mean, it is harder to see, and it's not protruding out. Here's the biggest thing I noticed with it is doing water work, and you've got a lot of floating vegetation. Is the cube style square receivers have a tendency to drag and get a lot of debris collected on them. The receiver on the 1900 and the ARC do not. But the answer is everybody wants everything smaller, and they also want longer battery life. And guess what? You can't have
both.
You know what I mean? Right now, at this point, we're limited by. If you saw the damn size of the battery that's in that ARC unit, it's tiny. And so, but as we've progressed with technology, almost every company is now using a lithium battery. Lithium batteries typically can be made smaller and have a good charge life compared to an old style nickel metal hydride, which is what was in most of our products over the years. So, to answer the question is, people want everything out of a training collar. They want to. I mean, if you saw some of the questions I have to answer you guys with battery life, I've had people that'll respond or call me and I'll talk about customer service issues with the unit, and they say, well, there's batteries in it. So,
right. It's waiting for the punchline there.
I was like, is this, I'm thinking, is this a candid camera type setup? Yeah, there's batteries in it.
Everybody in this group is too young to know candid camera.
Yeah, the reality is the smaller the battery, the shorter the battery life. So there are smaller units. To answer the question, the 200 and the 280 have cube style, and they're smaller receiver boxes, in my opinion.
Too late, Mike.
Sure, Mike. Yeah. We know that it's not your Brittany. It's never your Brittany. It's always your cousin's. Yeah, you just own it and hunt with it and live with it.
To answer John Miller's question, walk the edge of it, and you'll find out.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
And I'll go let you know.
I wouldn't spend much time walking right through the middle of it, but walk the edge of it, whatever it butts up to. If it's mature timber, a swamp, a creek, whatever it butts up to, walk the edge of it, and you'll have a good idea of you may have an idea of what's there. That's what I would do.
We have to remember that Pete can't read questions anymore. So
I actually can see him popping up here on my phone, guys. But I have to go get my readers.
Yep.
So you read them for me, Tyler or Doug.
Fair enough.
Looks like this one's for Nick. All right, Nick, where are you going to start your training? Or I says, where are you going to start your training with your new pup?
So gathering from that, I mean, the word training is kind of that's sort of the active word there. I guess I will kind of like say that for me, that any training I do with the pup in its first year is going to be more exposure than it is training. So I'm kind of making a discrepancy there between those two words. And I'm not going to be doing a whole lot of structured training other than some obedience stuff and paying attention to the dog's behavior, trying to get it to do things like exhibit behaviors that I want and trying to reward behaviors that the pup is displaying on its own. But I'm not doing a lot of structured training. And then that exposure is kind of self-explanatory, just trying to expose the pup to as much things as possible in a positive way and keep it fun and exciting.
That's a really good way to put that, Nick. I've been getting that question a lot since I got the two young puppies as well. And it's like the best way to put it, and I never even thought about putting it this way until you just said that, is that the only two kinds of training that I'm doing when they're this young is potty training and crate training.
Yeah.
All the rest of it is exposure. That's it. I mean, like that's the best way to put it that I could ever even think of.
Yeah, and that's definitely not my original theory. That's talked about by. I'm actually reading. Where is it here? I'm reading this book, Training Bird Dogs. It's written by Reed Bryant with the Smiths, Ronnie Smith and Susanna Love, and it's a great book. And they talk a lot about developing puppies and exposure and that sort of thing. It's pretty well thought out. So that's a good book for anybody interested.
Nice.
Now, Pete, are you strictly just labs, or do you had some bird dog or some upland bird dogs in the mix that aren't flushers?
Do you have any bird dogs, Pete?
Yeah, I've had mostly retrievers over the years, but I've always had over the last 30 years one German Shorthair pointer, and I do right now. I have a Shorthair by the name of Trip, and I don't compete with him like I do the labs. He's just a meat dog. And he's age 10 now. All of my short hairs that I've had over the years were horseback field trial bred dogs. I like a big, hard-going dog. I break them back for my type of work, which is gun dog work with a training collar, and I like that. And I like predominantly the white dog with liver patches on it. That's just me. And what I like as far as the looks. But now I've had a fair amount of German short hairs. But when I was training dogs, just to give you an idea how big our kennel system was over, and it's still, I sold it 10 years ago. It's called Fisher's Kennels and Hunt Club, is what it was called. And it still goes by that name. But to give you an example how big we were, at this time of the year, on a normal year, and this is not a normal year right now because of everything that's going on in the country, but right now I'd have had about 40 to 50 dogs in there. So it was no longer just me training dogs, and I trained some of everything. I mean, if it had a head and a tail and four legs, I probably trained. I never did a lot of work with any canine or bite dogs, even though they came out and used my property, but I trained some of everything over the years. But primarily I was a retriever trainer. I trained a lot late in my career. I trained a lot of pet dogs also. Obedience train them, e-collar condition them, and send them home after 6 weeks. And then the next door neighbor would say, "Hey, where was your dog for 6 weeks? And what's that device hanging on his neck? And where can I send my dog?" So that, but I did train a lot of pointers as well. And Craig does. Craig Klein owns my old business. Craig was one of my assistants. And so, but really my meat and potatoes was retrievers, because there's more of them out there. There's more retrievers out there, especially in the Midwest, than any other breed, especially the Labradors.
Question for you. This is a question that I get a ton, mainly because everybody knows that I've done it a little bit. But did you ever run your GSP with one of your labs in the same, like when you're out hunting pheasants? Because you're a Minnesota pheasant hunter, like guy, kind of. And I've been to your. Is that something that you did? And did you train differently for that?
I rarely ever hunted them together, and I'll tell you why. The retrievers figured it out pretty damn quick when they saw that white dog standing over there on point. I'm serious. Even to this day, if I'm out for a walk and I've got 120 acres here yet, and I've got native birds and I've got some pen-raised birds from the shooting preserve from my old business. I don't live far from my old business, and the short hair will go on point, and one of my labs will see it, and they'll just hustle right in there and just bust that bird out of there on them. And Trip stands there like, "What the hell was that all about?" I never hunted them together, never. The only time I would hunt them together is if I'm one of these guys that I never wanted to lose a knockdown bird. Right. And so when I knocked a bird down and it was crippled and I couldn't find it, then it was, I hate to say it, but it was all assholes and elbows. Every dog that I had, if I had 3 or 4 of them, they were out there looking for that bird. And I didn't care if the pointer pointed the cripple or not, or if the retriever fetched it. I just wanted the bird brought back because I didn't want to see it go to waste. So that, Tyler, that's the only time, and to this day, I'll hunt them together. But normally when I'm just out, I don't, and I even hunt 2 dogs at the same time. Just too many moving parts.
Sure. I used to do it a lot when I was younger. Now I'm a lot more like you. Now I have the luxury of dog power, and I also have the luxury of not. I get to hunt a lot, so I don't need to like just throw all my dogs down on the ground and be like, okay, I need to get these dogs out today because they're not going to get to hunt again for another 2 weeks.
Yep.
So, but it's what we used to do.
Exactly what you're saying.
And like the dog that's in here right now, Rusty, and his dad grew up hunting with a lab. My buddy Mike had a lab. I had a setter. And those two, just from sheer amount of time in the field together, they developed this weird symbiotic relationship where the lab would never just go up there and flush a bird, and the setter would never like freak out when the lab did finally get in front of it and move the bird. But that's pretty rare. And nowadays, and Rusty got pretty good at it as well. When he was young, he'd establish point. He'd let the lab get right in front of him and move the bird. He didn't care. I don't think it would work so well anymore. And it's not something that I would unless it's going to be something that you do a lot of. And yes, dry fly. I will. Rusty will get up here on a chair with me here in just a minute. But unless it's like you and your buddy and those dogs know each other really well, it's a really good way to create a rodeo in the field. Like labs can, and just like Pete's saying, like with my beeper collars, we had Dave Utzinger on here a few weeks ago, and his dog learned as soon as that beeper collar went off, that dog was like, where's that dog at? I know that dog's standing on point somewhere. I'm going to go find that dog, and I'm going to flush that bird.
Yeah.
It can turn into something that's not a whole lot of fun.
Well, as you get older, you seem like we all strive for more of a quality of a hunt than quantity, and not to say two dogs can't work together in harmony in the field. I just personally like to work one at a time. Even though I'm 63 years old, I can still walk a fair amount, and I like to be able to walk for a couple of hours or hour and a half and be able to go back and put the dog up and grab a different one and go out. So I rarely hunt all of them together unless I got a cripple.
There he is, the amazing Rusty.
There you go, dry fly.
And somebody's got a bingo, I'm sure, from that. I finally got a
I think
got a dog on screen.
Dog on screen.
I know. I'm pretty sure that Brock guy was fishing for Nick to show us his facial hair earlier because he was saying that I need Nick to
I
clean
got
my
it.
bingo.
It was this.
It was a gin bottle.
Yeah.
I got that.
It looked like tequila, though.
It is tequila this week. Sean E has asked this question 3 times, and I'm actually curious, almost more from the Onyx side of things. He's asking if the Pathfinder has an option to go offline like Onyx instead of the whole phone in airplane mode. And I guess, Pete, I'll let you answer that first before I jump in there, because I almost have like a clarifying question for Sean E.
I'm not aware that that's
Okay.
An option.
So in the way that it works in Onyx, my understanding, and Sean, definitely like add in if you know something that I don't, but there's an option in Onyx where you can download maps so that you can use them offline. And the situation that I have found, they also give you an option to go offline, so you can just pull up the maps that you have downloaded and you're not seeing the maps load up in real time. However, the only reason I ever do that is if you're in an area that you kind of have cell service, but it's sketchy. So let's say you're driving down a road and your maps are not really loading that well. You might click offline and then your downloaded maps would come up. But Onyx isn't really, it's not really shutting itself off. It's as if your phone is in airplane mode. I don't really know what the use for going offline is in Onyx other than just to look at your offline map. So maybe Sean could clarify what he's actually trying to accomplish with that, I guess.
I'm wondering if he's not still talking about battery life. Like that's kind of the one thing that so when I'm down in Arizona, we don't get there's no cell phone service. So with Onyx, you have to download maps because otherwise you can't really access it.
Yeah.
So if he's talking, Rusty, quit licking the microphone. This is going to sound weird. I'm guessing the only reason that I could possibly come up with, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, is just battery life.
Right.
Would be my bet.
And so then I'll chime in on that as far as my understanding with the whole battery life concern, because I've used, so he's talking about saving battery, right? So
yeah.
What happens when you're in a bad area with very little cell service is your phone is trying to grab these cell towers, and that's what's draining your battery. It's not your GPS receiver. That's not what's draining your battery. So by going into airplane mode, you turn off the cell service of your phone, you're saving your battery, but your GPS function still works. So the Onyx giving you that option, if you turn your Onyx in offline mode, but you still have your cell service on, my understanding is that you would still be killing your battery because your phone would be trying to grab that cell service. So I don't think the offline mode in Onyx is actually saving your battery unless you actually go totally into airplane mode. But maybe I'm wrong on that.
No, I'm pretty sure you're right, Nick. And yeah, it's I'm almost
it's the cellular service that kills your battery, not the GPS antenna.
Right.
And when you're in poor cell phone service, the reason why your battery drains twice as fast is because it's constantly looking for backup network.
Right.
So
we got a cell phone
guy right here.
So I've got 15 years with Verizon, right? So it's the one question I do know the answer to.
Yeah,
so
I love it.
It's like, why does my phone die when I'm, I used to work in a manufacturing plant, right? And it was a solid block building with steel roof, and I'd go inside, and if I left my phone on by lunchtime, the phone was dead. Your phone actually will work twice as hard in low reception areas to try to pick up signal and grab a signal. So if it doesn't have signal, it's pointless to even have the radio on, because it's just draining battery the whole time. And
I think I'm like Sean clarified a little bit here. I'm gathering kind of what he's saying is like, if you're in a bad area, then you've also got your Onyx. Your Onyx is trying to pull maps, so that's trying to pull battery too. But I guess my point would be that if you're in a bad coverage area, you need to just put your phone in airplane mode and go offline completely. Don't just use Onyx to go offline. I would put my phone in airplane mode. But I suppose an argument could be made to kind of just turn Onyx on offline and leave your phone on cell service. But
that is not a humble brag from Doug, Mike.
Actually, he bitches about Verizon a lot. I hope there's no Verizon CEOs on here watching.
Well, Stuart somebody said that he's 27 years with Verizon. But I've only got 15 in, and I'm Verizon wireless, so you're probably Verizon landline.
Has Verizon been around for 27 years? Christ almighty, how old am I?
Yes, so.
It started in 2000.
The Stuart Smith owned the company. He started it.
Yeah. He's Hans's running man.
I have a question for you, which is, I mean, now since you're like the Dogtra guy, maybe you're not, maybe you don't get to hunt quite as much as you used to. But do you still travel and hunt a fair amount?
Quite honestly, Tyler, not as much as what you might think. I was a diehard waterfowl hunter, and in central Minnesota, our waterfowl have just gone to hell in a handbasket. Hey, look who joined us now,
Ronald.
Hi.
How much does your hair grow in a week?
Those are plugs.
You got a perm, I think.
No, this is not implants, man. This is the real thing. I look just like 1972.
Porn star.
Other than a lot of other things about you, yes, you look just like 1972.
Did he say 1872 or 1972?
18. Thank you very much.
I really want to do a Chicago Public Schools swimming reference here to just get the timeline straight, but
well, we can anytime you're ready. Hey, I'm going to tell you this. I'm sorry. I don't know what you guys were talking about, but I have to vent my spleen for about 5 minutes.
Your spleen.
If you're blaming cell phone service, we don't want to hear about it. We just got done with that.
I'm not blaming Verizon, but it says I couldn't go on my phone because I got to change my browser. I'm like, well, okay, fine. I'll figure out how to change my browser. So I got my hotspot on. My computer wouldn't recognize my hotspot. After an hour of that, I drove down the hill to my neighbor's house because she sent me a picture of the back of her router. And I'm trying to read the back of her router on a picture on Facebook. I almost took the hammer to everything, including my so, really nice to see everybody. God, I missed you. I was starting to panic. I'm like, I'm so used to going and seeing everybody. I don't want to miss it.
Somebody,
board.
Rock Guy says you need to catch up, and he needs a classic beer or Ron Boehme chug.
Well, here we go.
He's drinking molasses. It looks like.
Well, this is a really cool.
Oh yeah, I love those. I love those.
By Extra Tough.
Yeah.
What's funny is when the beer can's empty, it's so heavy you think there's still beer in it.
You have no idea. Yeah, it's deceiving.
So anyway,
you missed a lot. Yeah. You missed a lot.
Hey,
nobody missed you.
Just wanted to say hi to everybody.
There we go.
There you go.
Oh, that's much better. Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't. I was trying to figure out everybody looks smaller on there for a minute, but
right. They want to know. The people are asking, when are we going to do our chug challenge?
Oh,
well, that's entirely up to you guys.
I may or may not have ordered an apparatus that's going to help me win this entire thing.
Uh-oh.
So, and I'm going to be drinking out of bottles, and you guys can't touch me. So, just saying.
If you try to swirl the bottle and create a vortex, then I'm on.
There is something out there called the bottle bong. I shit you not. It's a sleeve that fits right over the top of the bottle with a straw and a valve, and like 2.5 seconds.
I guarantee it uses a vortex.
Well, I think it just there at the bottom.
It does.
I'll guarantee you that guy didn't tell you there was an enema tip on
it. Pete's like, what the fuck did I get myself into?
What did I get into?
Doug,
Oh, boy.
you used the F word. We've been waiting for 32 minutes. We've had to work that into a conversation. Pete.
I'm blushing. Somebody said the F word.
Social.
I gotta see who's on live. Oh, hi everybody. You're not gonna believe this. Now, Tyler, you were just down here in February at my house in Virginia, right?
Correct.
There was condiments in the refrigerator and old food in the freezer and
rotten eggs in the fridge. Remember that? I was going to make us breakfast, and I ended up having to feed them to your dogs.
Yeah.
Right. Well, shit happens. I
dogs
get
like
down
them.
There.
Rotten for humans, good for dogs.
And I told this couple that was staying here for the first month of COVID they didn't want to go back to Detroit, which I don't blame them.
Who does,
said,
really?
Okay, you guys can stay here, but you got to clean. She goes, I can clean this place. This place needs windows and blinds. I'm like, you know what? You're right. So what? You burn up a little electricity. And her and her husband stayed here. I don't know what they did besides there is not a jar of salt. There's no salt. The refrigerator looks like I just got it from Lowe's. Wait, I'm going to take this over here. Look at this. You want fucking...
God. There's the second one. No, you moved. Now you have...
You broke it, Ron.
Frozen.
Wait a minute. I'm going to snip this. Snip it.
The Windy Kid is frozen in something.
Yeah.
Oh, geez, Pete. What did you get yourself into?
Sorry, Pete.
So before Ron's going to come back real soon. I guarantee it. But do you get to do any hunting at all anymore? Or is it just basically like Minnesota pheasant hunting? And if Ron comes back on, Doug, mute him because I need to hear this.
Yeah.
Not as much as what you might think. I'm pretty busy yet with working for Dogtra. I was saying earlier that I love waterfowl hunting, Tyler, and our waterfowl population has just gone to hell in a handbasket here in central Minnesota. Very few ducks around anymore. We're right on the edge of decent pheasant hunting, even though we got an extremely active Pheasants Forever chapter in Stearns County here, and I'm part of it. But you've got to get to western Minnesota or out to North or South Dakota to get into any amount of birds. So,
sure.
I've been fortunate. My business that I sold 10 years ago is a licensed shooting preserve besides, being the dog training kennel, and it's a small shooting preserve that releases a couple thousand birds a year. I own most of the land around it, and there's always a certain amount of birds that survive. So I'm able to hunt a fair amount of what we call scratch birds, birds that haven't been eaten by the foxhawks and the owls and coyote. So,
and let's be honest, I've guided in a couple of those preserves, and most of those scratch birds are misses from guys that shouldn't be running around with guns.
Yeah. Yeah, well, pheasants, that's why they work so well as preserve birds, is they get educated pretty quick, and the ones that don't get eaten. And so, but no, I haven't been out in. I hunted up kind of in your direction, Tyler. A lot of waterfowl hunting for a lot of years. Probably the best waterfowl hunting I ever had. It was just phenomenal at times that we had, and that was back when I had the business yet, and I'd break away for a handful of days to get up there.
You're killing Doug. Doug's coming up here for the first time in October. He's never got to experience the Dakotas at all. And so when you're saying, oh, it's unbelievable, he is just frothing at the mouth. I can see him right now. He's got that metallic taste in his mouth thinking, oh my God, I can't wait.
I'm blood thirsty when I'm coming out there.
I'm excited.
I want 3 cranes a day. I want limits of mallards. I want it all.
What's the best time of day to hunt crane?
Tyler, where are you near? You've told me this before.
So
northwest,
east,
northwest,
southeast.
Do you know where? Do you know where Minot's at? Right off Highway 2.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, I'm 50 miles west of Minot. A little itty bitty town called Stanley. Nobody's out here. Let's face it. Anybody who's ever listened to my podcast knows basically exact GPS coordinates to exactly where I am. And Nick, I swear to God, at some point we are going to have like 30 cars pull up while you're out here. And we're just going to have to sit and talk to people, which I love. But then we're going to go and shoot sharptails in places that you and I were going to go. So, that's just, it is what it is.
Northwest North Dakota, people know.
Northwest North Dakota.
We were up around Harvey. I think I told you that.
Sure.
That's where we hunted.
That's quite a ways away from me, but you're right. The waterfowl hunting down that direction is fantastic.
And that was back before waterfowler.com that spread the word,
sure.
Like wildfire. And the latter years we went out there, Tyler, and it was just a mess, with so many people out there and you couldn't get on land anymore. And then we went down in the southeast corner for a number of years around Oaks, and I had some connections with people I had trained dogs for there. And we had okay hunting, but those years that we hunted up around Harvey, it was the best waterfowl hunting that I had ever had in my life, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Drake, Animus, and Harvey are all right there off of Highway 52. So all of you guys that are coming from Minnesota, you literally go through Fargo off I-94. You turn at Jamestown. It's Highway 52. And from basically Jamestown to Minot, it's all really good waterfowl hunting. And just a little tip here for some of you guys. It's a sleeper spot in the state for pheasants. Just going to put that out there. I don't hunt down there anymore just because it's a really long ways away from me. So, I mean,
how far are you from Harvey, where I was explaining?
What's that?
Further north and west are you from Harvey, from where I was describing?
From quite a ways, actually, Pete. So from Harvey to Minot, 75 miles. Harvey's southeast of Minot, 75 miles. And I'm 55 miles from there. So it's probably 125 miles or so. And
beyond Harvey.
Yep. And so, but in that Harvey, Drake, Animus, Turtle Lake area, and I don't want to get accused of hot spotting at all because, I mean, apparently that's a thing now. But that's a really underrated area in the state for upland as well as waterfowl. And all the way up to Highway 2 to the north, there's a million little towns up there. A lot of the Minnesota guys like Pete and like the waterfowl hunters have kind of like they kind of descended on that area of the state. I mean, like it's a pretty short drive for them, but the upland hunting up there is actually pretty underrated as well.
Yep. So many individuals that I knew back when I was in business had connections out around Mott. And the pheasant hunting Mott was just, and we went out there one time. We had some connections through my cousin Joe, and it was almost unbelievable the amount of pheasants we saw that particular year. It's what we dream about. But anyway,
I've only ever actually got to hunt down by Regent one time, and like I'm from here, and I had connections to go down there one time, and there's this one family, and I can't remember the name. In fact, I'm pretty sure both of the brothers are dead now. So I mean, if I did know it, I would say it. But they have an outfitter thing down there where it's basically my dream house. Really, it's like a 200-foot wide by 500-foot long shop that's got rooms and bathrooms and a full, like it's a shop house really, but it's incredible. Yep. But so for the last weekend of the year, he invites friends and family down there, and basically is what they want to do. And this is going to sound weird to a lot of people, but they want to do literally a rooster killing. Like they have to, like down there in that part of the state, down by Regent, Mott, Dickinson. They're like, it's a lot of the outfitters, and they're going to feed those birds all winter long, no matter how hard the winter is. And so they're going to try to kill as many of those roosters as they can, because each rooster can take care of 10, 15 hens if they need to. And so we got invited down there, and we walked this one farmyard, and I'm not kidding. It was the biggest shit show of a hunt I've ever seen in my entire life. We showed up. We stayed there. We were the only people staying there. The next morning, there's 46 people. 46 freaking people. I don't like hunting. I don't like hunting with 5 people, but there's 46. And they're like, well, we're going to go and we're going to surround this big farmyard. This farmyard's like maybe 15 acres. And I was like, all right, well, whatever, and I get out on the outside edge. And as we're driving up to get out, 400 or 500 pheasants get out. And I was like, yeah, well, whatever. Out of that farmyard, we killed 90 pheasants. There was 1,500 pheasants in that freaking farmyard. It was insane. One guy and one lab walked through that farmyard. And no kidding, for 20 minutes, pheasants flushed.
Yeah. Let me tell you what really happened.
He had a pheasant.
Even though I wasn't there, let me tell you what really happened. I just did the math on this.
Sure.
Okay. Tyler went to a place.
Wait. Hold on. It was 2012. Okay, we're good. Statute of limitations.
Okay. There was 138 birds shot. The problem was they were all shot by Tyler. So in the beginning of the story, he told you there was 46 people.
There actually were. I swear to God, I got pictures. It was like 2 football teams. It was like 2 football teams showed up. There was people everywhere. We like Pete left. He's like,
he said,
I can't be associated with these guys.
Yeah.
It was all professional till you showed up.
I almost broke the table. I did everything but slap this fucking $3,000 computer.
That's 3 F-bombs now.
We're going to hit our quota.
Ron.
Oh, my God.
Did you get your pump room all put back together?
I got some of the shotguns back downstairs. But these people, all right, this time I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to move my phone.
Why would you try it again?
No, I got my phone right here.
All right.
So this house, you could come in here anytime and find a meal, okay? Now, I'm going to show you.
Here you go.
He's frozen.
Nice one, Chief.
Sean, I don't believe that your math is correct. Just going to put that out there. I don't think 46 times 3 equals 1,500. I'm not a math calculator. Ron froze up again. Pete.
Pete.
All right, I saw a feral cat. Don't worry.
Question. Oh, really?
You were checking for tornadoes.
Pete, you got one day. You're gonna go hunting. What's your hunt gonna look like? Are you gonna be sitting in a small little marsh, calling in mallards? Are you gonna be in a layout blind in the field? What's your hunt gonna look like? In your ideal scenario.
You know what? For a guy that's a diehard waterfowl hunter, until you've laid out in the fields of North Dakota, out in Tyler's direction, in a layout blind, and watch and just pick and choose with greenheads coming in, and your dog is in in his little hut next to you, and you come in, and we always call them with feet hanging, and I mean, there's just nothing better than that, Nick. It really isn't. I still love hunting pheasants. That's what I hunt probably more than I do anything nowadays. But to field hunt waterfowl is just unbelievable experience. and the numbers, Tyler. I don't know, Doug, have you experienced this where you literally have tornadoes of birds coming down in, and it's sometimes we wanted the hunt to last so long that we would pick and choose. We would only shoot green hens and nice mature birds. It was just, I can't, for somebody that loves to hunt, that hunts birds, that is the finest hunting I've ever had in my life.
Yeah. I haven't done a lot of waterfowl hunting, but I have done what you're talking about for 6 or 7 years. I'd go out with my dad and a couple friends, and we would field hunt in North Dakota, further east than that. But again, my experience is limited as a waterfowler, but that was some of the most, when the flocks of mallards are coming over and all you hear is just that air coming. It's just, it's unbelievable. Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
It really is. Yep.
Yeah, a couple years ago, and I can't take any credit for this at all because it wasn't my decoys, it wasn't my field that I found. It was like I was one guy shooting. But Ron, when he was out here the first time with me, we did a podcast with a guy by the name of Roger Schumann. And we were over in the Nitro Bar, which is his own private bar in his shop, basically. But me and him and his nephew and a couple of guys from Wisconsin, we shot 6-person limit of mallards. We shot 36 mallards, all greenheads, in 24 minutes. And it was just like you're describing, Pete. I mean, it was just flock after flock, feet down. Yeah. In fact, we had a bet that anybody who shot a hen, they're paying for breakfast. And I had to move my drink because Rusty started drinking my drink, by the way. I hope you guys saw that because like it happened.
Good boy, Rusty. Good boy.
Thirsty.
He was very thirsty. Apparently he's a Russian cheddar. Sent for good vodka tonight, and he was all about it.
That's a cool question from Brett.
Is it possible that I have hit so many buttons on my computer tonight that I'm not on Chrome? Is it possible?
No way for us to determine that. Unless you want to screen share. If you could screen share.
No, I need.
We don't need to screen share what Ron's,
I need you to fix this
history. I'll tell you right now.
Well, you don't want to see his book.
Bring it when we go up to Jordan's.
Oh my God.
Right,
I'm going crazy.
Doug, you start. Most memorable animal encounter.
You know, I would tell you that mine wasn't upland hunting. It was deer hunting. And I've had times that I've come out of the tree stand and had, small packs of coyote follow me back to my truck in very insanely close proximity where it's made me sweat. But where I live up here, there's really not, by the time I get done deer hunting, most of the bears are put themselves to bed, and we don't have to worry about big cats, and definitely don't have to worry about wolves. So coyote's really the only thing that, that I have to worry about. And to be honest with you, they're not much to worry about.
Yeah. For me, I would say I'm worried I might be forgetting something here, but the one that definitely sticks out in my mind is I was probably in high school grouse hunting with a buddy of mine, and this was before we had dogs or anything, so we were trail walking, and I remember being in this real deep, dark jack pine thicket, like it was dark and real quiet, and my buddy and I were walking this trail and heard a twig snap behind us, and we turned around, and there was a timber wolf 25 yards just crossing through right behind us, just basically crossing our track and staring right at us the whole time. But he just kind of moved through and just disappeared into the brush. And this is probably 15 years ago, I guess, or more. And like, we didn't see a ton of wolves. Like, I feel like you hear more about wolves today than you did 15 years ago, but we didn't even really realize what it was. Like, we were like, what was that, a coyote or what was that? I have no idea, but just in my memory, I know it was a timber wolf that was crossing behind us. And that's probably the closest I've ever been to a timber wolf.
Sure. Yeah. We've had some cool, it seems like, honestly, some of the coolest experiences are waterfowl hunting. We've had several coyotes come in and like kind of try to sneak up on decoys or badgers. We had a badger do it one time. It was pretty cool. But the one time that will always stick out in my mind is something that I actually, like, we never even seen it. But we were hunting late season pheasants. I mean, late. I mean, in fact, I think it was on my birthday. I think it was on Christmas. Me and my one buddy Mike, we were down in southwest North Dakota hunting pheasants in this huge, like there's actually like two great big gigantic coulees that intersect, and it was what we called four fingers. There were these four great big gigantic draws that went up, and it was just stuffed full of pheasants. And when we walked in there, it was kind of snowing. It was one of those, I mean, anybody who's from the upper Midwest, like most of us are, will understand. It's kind of like it's that really scenic, very pretty snowfall where it's just kind of coming down. It's very quiet, very calm. There's not a lot of wind. And when we walked in there, we ended up shooting. We shot our 6 pheasants, and when we turned around and walked back out on the same tracks, there were mountain lion tracks in our footprints. Wow. Where after we'd passed, and we were only in there for 45 minutes or an hour. So that cat was like right around us. We never seen it, but it was one of the most eerie / cool things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Ronald.
God, that took a long time.
Sorry. I mean, everybody's heard your black bear story. Come on now. Come up with a new one.
What about my grizzly bears? What about my grizzly bear story up in Alaska?
You ain't heard that one.
Bop, bop. When the Ranella boys told me to just go to the other side of the creek, and the grizzly bears won't bother you. And I said, how do you know? He says, well, because I haven't in the past. I'm like, well, do you know this bear personally? And they happened to be right, and those bears ran away, but I shit my pants. I mean,
how close?
I'm a grizzly bear and a 1.5-year-old cub on each side of her stood up on the other side of the riverbank and scared the fuck out of me.
No, thank you.
That's close enough.
That's 4 bombs.
That's 4 bombs.
Is that my computer or your guys' computer?
Yours. Pete, I don't know if you saw that question or picked up on what we were talking about, but most memorable animal encounter.
You know, I really haven't had. I guess I lead a sheltered life.
Oh, good God!
I haven't had any to speak of. My
internet can't be this bad with my hotspot.
It's
why
bad.
does it tell me I have to go to Chrome?
Because you got to get Chrome.
Yeah, mute them, Doug. Come on now.
I really don't. I've got nothing that compares to that. My closest encounter, and it's kind of a story that I shared on your podcast, Tyler. And mine was an encounter with.
I'm going to miss all of you.
And
mute.
And, the story was we were out in North Dakota waterfowl hunting, Tyler, and we had it was a windy day. It was great conditions. The birds wanted to get down. They didn't want to be up in the wind, and we were field hunting, and we shot our birds, and somewhere during the hunt, a greenhead had been wing-tipped, and it sailed out seriously 250 to probably 300 yards across the stubble field. And I saw where it fell, and one of my buddy Greg was next to me, and he kind of had it marked. And it was a long ways out, and I had a dog by the name of Rex, who was a phenomenal handling dog. He was a master hunter, and I ran him in hunt tests and field trials. And while we were finishing up our hunt, we looked over our shoulder, and there was a pickup truck had been watching us. And as it turned out, it was a game warden. And he had been watching us with binoculars. And so we got out of our blinds and started picking everything up, and he came out to check us. And we showed him our licenses. He counted birds, and I walked back over to the edge of the spread, and I sent Rex out across this plowed field for that triple greenhead that had probably fallen an hour later. And the game warden was standing behind me, and he said to my buddy Greg, "What's that guy doing?" And my buddy Greg had been around Rex, and he and I hunted a lot together, and he said, "You just watch." And so I lined Rex up and gave him a blind command, which I called dead, and off he went. And a handful of whistles later, stopping him, casting him left, right, I got him downwind, and he picks the screenhead up and he brings it back. And the game warden's standing there, and he goes, "You know, I have been doing this for many years, and I have never seen a dog like that." He said, "That is almost like having a guided missile, being able to direct it out in the field to pick up your ducks." And so it was kind of a neat story, nothing comparing to a grizzly bear across the river by any stretch. But it was a memorable hunt, and really made me feel good that we have these animals that we train as conservation tools to retrieve our birds, so they don't go to waste. And to have the game warden standing there And when I walked back, he said, that's really unbelievable. I've never seen anything like that. And so it made me feel really good. And that's about as scary as they get for me. But it was actually a very fun hunt and the guy was really nice. The game warden was really good about chatting it up.
That's cool.
I have a great story about the reverse side of that. The same guys I was just telling about, Roger and Adam, and the same guys from Wisconsin. It was a couple days after we were on that same hunt where we killed all those mallards in just a few minutes, and it was spectacular. I mean, it was Pete. I mean, it was a cut pea field in October, and the mallards really, really, really wanted to be there. I mean, that is the field that they wanted to be in. And so a couple days later, they're all out there. There's 5 of them, and they're all in layout blinds. And you've been out here where when they come in early in the morning, you're trying to find color, and you're like I mean, because it's really tough. And I mean, like a lot of times, especially in October, those birds fly really early. Where I mean, it's a half hour before shooting light, and it's kind of cloud cover, and you can't really see real well.
Yep.
So these guys are all laying there, and sure enough, first flight of mallards comes in. They shoot a bunch. They go and pick them all up. They got dogs, and like they finish up their hunt in like an hour, and pretty quick, just like you're talking about. Here comes the game warden. They're like, oh, okay, like they're picking up decoys, and the game warden comes out and they're talking. And all of a sudden, that wind shifts, and that lab's head goes. And goes down to the slough bottom where, I mean, like literally this big flock, and one must have died a little while later. And here he comes back with one more hen, and it puts them over their limit on hens.
Oh my God.
And it drops it right at the game warden's feet. And the game warden's like, guys, I don't know what to do here. He's like, that's really, really, really bad luck on your part. He's like, I got to write somebody a $50 ticket, it's not the end of the world. And those guys are like, I'll take it. And I mean, but it just kind of goes to show that when you're in those situations where there's 5 guys, guns are going off, there's a big flock of mallards. Yeah. That one of those birds can carry a pellet and go, 150 yards and just peel off and die. Sure. And when it's kind of dark like that and all the action's going on up here ahead of you, it's not it's not the end of the world if it happens, but weird things like that can happen a little bit.
Yeah, we always figured those were birds that got a heart shot, that they'd fly a long ways,
right?
They'd crumple. I don't know if there's any truth to that or not. It might be an old wives' tale, but fall hundreds of yards away. Yep.
So
I found that it was a spleen shot. I actually did forensics. It was a spleen shot. Yeah.
Well, we know it wasn't a liver shot on you. We know that for sure.
Now,
you guys see this? You guys see this?
That's what's ripping through.
That's what's coming here.
That's strong.
Oh, really?
That's a nasty, nasty storm system.
What we have to have a little.
Let me ask you young computer.
That's called a bow echo.
It's a good one.
Yeah, when it blows like that, it's going to blow like hell.
Yep.
I got a question for Doug and Nick because they're young.
Oh,
my computer.
What the hell, man? I think me and Nick are like 2 years apart.
Tyler, you've admitted to me many times that you don't know shit about computers. Okay, so, you're up.
Nick, you're up. You know more than I do.
I turned my computer off. I turned it back on. I went outside. I got Bravo in. I can watch Netflix on my Wi-Fi hotspot. I just watched it on my laptop.
Yeah.
Why am I cutting out on StreamYard?
Probably because Netflix has millions, if not billions of dollars to work on their streaming platform, and StreamYard does not.
No, it's because Netflix is downloading and StreamYard is uploading. So your upload speeds are usually 25% of what your download speed.
Do you guys hear that?
Like a super smart answer to that.
Do you guys hear that? That's people actually not watching anymore. That's people logging off, and as that question's getting answered.
How do you know that people weren't concerned about their upload speed versus their download speed? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, somebody asked a question. Did we lose viewership by switching to Tuesdays? And I think somebody remarked that it was about half, and that is probably about accurate, but the long-term views are about the same. But what that means is that you guys are doing an awful job with bringing somebody and getting somebody to watch.
Bring a friend.
So if you next week, I expect it to be at 100. So each person that is watching, send the link to a friend and have them log in and watch it too.
See, and is what we need to do is we need to start giving away shit again. I think
you need to give away.
I think Ron needs to start giving away cigars because he's got the most sponsors out of everybody. And you know, it needs to start costing Ron money until we get to a certain level. I'm a firm believer in that.
I agree.
It's already costing money.
So if somebody brings a friend to next week's show and then thereafter they lose that friend, there should be some sort of consolation prize for them losing that friend.
Well, they would have to swim naked.
Yes.
And there it is.
Yeah.
There it is. So whoever had Ron mention swimming naked or sex time with Uncle Ron, there you go. Bingo. So
now Pete's the only guy in this crowd that I can ask. Pete, what town did you grow up in?
Avon,
I grew up in a little town of Avon, Minnesota.
Did you guys have a swimming pool in your high school?
We didn't have a high school.
It was a one-room school.
Damn it. Oh, my freaking
Tyler,
you know what?
and Doug, to your question, if we want to do a giveaway, I'll get a training collar lined up as a giveaway.
Oh, that'd be great.
From Dogtra.
That'd really be great. I appreciate that, Pete.
You got to send me an email, and we'll get one lined up, and we'll do a donation.
Oh, this is cutting me out again. God damn it!
We'll do
mute
giveaway.
Ron.
Sweet.
No, that's
in the coming weeks there will be a Dogtra giveaway.
That sounds great. I think that we should.
Yep.
We're gonna have to figure out a way.
We'll get it out of. Lorraine's got a bucket of donations. Won't take it out of the donations.
Excellent.
We'll get it out of her donations.
We'll have to.
We'll do a. Let's do a T&V duel.
Yes.
I think
that's
like appropriate for this crowd.
That's the one I use.
Somebody's gonna get real lucky on that one.
Let's
do that. I think so.
Some ball caps for second, third, fourth place.
That's great.
I know we've got a bunch of ball caps in, and we'll do that. I can do that.
So I think is what we should do, Doug. And please, I'm good with your guys' suggestions, but the Dogtra hats, I think that we should give away for comments in like after the episode for questions for whatever. But let's do the let's have Pete back on just for like a little segment, like mid-August before hunting season starts. And some sort of what does Nick always say in the intro to the Project Upland podcast? A meaningful contribution,
which I stole from a Twin Cities radio show.
Excellent. That doesn't matter.
Video games weekly.
Intellectual property that we can't steal. We're China today.
Yeah.
Perfect. But so we're gonna have to have some sort of a really kick-ass, meaningful contribution from one of you guys.
Yep.
We'll give it away before hunting season starts, so that way you guys can use it for the season. It'll be before September 1st. But as far as the hats go, make sure Doug, you tell them what they need to do for hats.
Well, are we gonna do it at the same time?
No, we can do that in like any time between now and then.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I guess we'll have to see. We'll just you get somebody to watch and you get them to mention your name.
Yes.
In the comments, and then we'll draw out that thing because we do. I mean, we're at 52 viewers right now. It would be super cool to get back into the hundreds on a Tuesday rather than watching.
I'll get some Dogtra caps Doug donated, and we'll do that for like a dozen caps we'll use for comments. And I'll get a unit donated. That's
fantastic.
I don't know how you got to figure it out how you're going to pick the winner.
Yeah.
We'll leave it to Doug. Doug's good at this kind of stuff. Like me and Nick, we're just a talent. We show up. We leave everything hard to Doug.
All I'm going to do is tell Lorraine we're doing it, and she'll take care of it.
Perfect.
That's fantastic.
Sounds great. All right. Well,
another question just popped up. I thought I saw one.
Sure.
Wait.
It was there for just a flash.
Oh, what do you got going on there, Doug?
My wife She's got knitting going on next to me, so
I thought it was a bra strap.
I help you. I don't see.
One that just popped up. It was only on my screen for just 10 seconds.
He was flashing some kind of fun comments. I think I don't know if it was a question.
Flashing gang signs at us.
Yeah, the highest RTS bidder, biggest donation.
Well, I think that we're gonna have to come up with something that's gonna be
the most friends brought to a broadcast. I like that one.
Yeah,
I like that one a lot
for
too.
a T&B duel, that's got to be a big one. That's a big one
for sure. So, well, you guys listen to Doug. Doug's going to tell you guys exactly what you need to do. We're going to give away a bunch of hats. Pete said he's going to give us a bunch of hats. If you guys do have any questions, Pete, what is it? Dogtra.com? Is that where everybody goes as far as?
You can go to www.dogtra.com. You can go to our Facebook page, which I think is Dogtra Official. You can go to our Instagram page. All of them are monitored. You'll probably get a faster response out of our social media stuff.
Sure.
Tyler, than you will from the dogtra.com website, just because of what I talked about earlier.
Right.
Or you can go online and call the company. So
and any of you guys that do have actual technical questions, Doug at Soggy Dog Gear. No kidding. We may give Doug some shit because he wears glasses and he has labs, but he's actually really, really good at this stuff. He does know a lot of stuff about all their products. Me and Nick both run Dogtra Collars. We're you guys sponsor both of our podcasts, and we are happy. Yes, absolutely.
A couple of rheostat dials there, folks.
Cool rheostat.
Yeah, lots of rheostats. You know what I always say, Tyler, is we're here to help. Is the best I can tell people is connect with us. We're getting issues, problems, obviously sales. I mean, there's a lot of places you can buy our product.
Right.
Doug has done a wonderful job. I worked with Doug. He and I only knew each other over some phone calls and messages, and we worked Pheasants Fest together, and we hit it out of the park. We had a lot of fun, and that's where I connected with you, Tyler, and Nick. You and I knew each other before, but lots of great places to buy the product. But obviously, we like to see people going right over to Soggy Dog, don't we, Doug?
Absolutely. And any of you guys that have any questions, I'm happy to answer anything that I possibly can. I know Nick's the same way. Yep. Doug's definitely your guy, and Lorraine. And most of the time when I need to contact somebody, if it's not going to be Pete by texting him, it's going to be Lorraine on the Instagram. So make sure that you guys are posting pictures of your dogs wearing the Dogtra collars, and hunting season's almost here, guys. So, I mean, make sure that you guys are, we're going to need this year. Yep, absolutely.
One more shameless plug.
Pete, stick with us while Doug dumps us out, and we'll chat for a second afterwards.
See everybody next week.
Sounds good.
We will see y'all later.
Thanks.